sure I haven't done anything. I haven't like, you know, flushed out my engine or
Okay,
anything.
I call,
I'm not going to-
no, we're gonna do open bids first, right?
Well, you're gonna do the bids, you're gonna do the public hearing.
It's up to you.
Either way,
Which one? Let's do the bids first.
okay.
Okay.
All right, we put out a bid for road work. We had 2 responses back of the 5 persons that we chatted with. Suffolk Asphalt, Rosemar, and Pasco never came back in with a bid. We have been in discussion with the town of Brookhaven for almost 4 months on this. Various projects that we're looking to get them to take on for us as a shared responsibility and better way to make our money last longer. We have a bid then from the town of Brookhaven and from Grazi Paving Associates, Inc. This is a bids for the Village of Poquott pothole and berm repair and resurfacing Washington Street from Birchwood Avenue to approximately 570 feet north, which would put it down halfway, almost down to John Fry's driveway. If anybody knows John Fry's house. We had both firms bid on this. Town of Brookhaven bid for the pothole and berm repair. Total of $4,400, $1.36.
But that doesn't include the asphalt, does it? That's only for the labor.
Plus the hot mix, right? That's $78.56 per ton, and we don't know how much the tonnage. They're claiming that the tonnage just for the Washington Street repaving is 205 tons, which would be $14,000 just for the thing.
Plus that labor, so we're at almost 20,000, 19,000.
But they are, well, I don't know how much the hot paving would be for the potholes. That's the question we're looking at here. That price is separate. The resurfacing of Washington Street, 570 feet by 24 foot, which is the width of the roadway as I measured it. The total of that with the paving, it's 14,250 square foot of paving, it's 1,583 square yards. Tonnage is 205 tons of paving. They're looking at $17,686.02 for that section of it. However, according to our list of potholes, we would reduce the number of potholes in the pothole berm repair list by those that are on Washington Street itself, which is Washington and Cedar, Washington and Walnut, Washington and Birchwood, so we're missing 4 potholes on 54 Washington, multiple potholes in front of Washington and Walnut, and 2 skim outs on Washington and Cedar. So you're looking at $4,400 for that and $17,686 on the other one, so you're looking at $22,000 plus the tonnage for the physical hot mix. That's $80 per ton, which we have no idea what the cost is. So. Grazi Paving Associates.
So it's like $38,000.
Okay,
$40,000.
for the pothole and berm repair, $13,000. For just the berm repair itself, the potholes is $13,000. The berm repair for Chestnut, Sharon, and Sharon would be $1,670. Washington Street, 570 feet by 25 feet, 1 1/2 inch compact and macadam, 22.2. Town of Brookhaven is doing 2 1/4 inch top coat. So those are your bids, folks. As I said, we did not get the other 4 parties to come in and give us a bid. We never got anything from Pasco either.
That's the price per that list that quote gave you?
That's the price per that list of code gives.
And what was the
Right.
second price? The first price we got, what's the second one?
They're a total of 36,870
The second one?
for
Yeah,
inch and a half as opposed to 2 inches.
2 and
I don't know.
1/4.
2 and 1/4.
2 and 1/4 inches, right.
Is that sufficient, an inch and a half?
It's 17,
The motor's
21,
16 inch,
it's 21 plus,
Local pots.
22 plus the physical hot mix, and I don't know how much hot mix they're gonna be using on just the potholes, so that's a action. But it's still, what we're looking at, 10 grand difference between the town of Brookhaven and Grazi Paving Associates.
Is it the same standard, the same specs?
Same specs.
No,
No.
2.5 inch, 2.5 inches was.
Grazi's only an inch and a half
Well, that's a
top
big
cover.
difference, I mean, that's like,
And the other one's 2 1/4 inches top
2
cover.
and 1/4
Yeah.
versus 1.5.
an inch and a half is what they call an election code. So you put it down right before election.
David can do that for half the price. What, is that with hot patch? This is all hot patch or cold?
All hot mix asphalt.
Oh, it
Well,
is?
this is resurfacing the whole street.
No, the resurfacing is
Oh.
17
Oh, you're talking 7.
change.
I'm sorry, 27.
The potholes themselves, potholes and skim in the berm would be 4,400.
Which road is this? It's a major road, it's one of the major roads.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if it's,
D road.
you want something, good job.
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think 2.25.
We didn't specify how much to put down, though.
I think we have to be more clear, I
Yeah.
think, you know, and
I would rebid it and specify 2 and 1/4.
I think that we should do the pothole separate then from that list, because, you know, just like Sharon, on the pothole list, we don't have to do Sharon Highview list, now we're gonna bid out, pave the actual roads. I think we should do the same thing, then bid it out separately just for the road. Can we add that into for the next, for June, the end of June, let's put that with the bids with Sharon
We can get
Highview.
it out then, yeah.
Okay. So did they give us prices just for the potholes?
For the town,
Well, the town, yeah.
yeah, the town's pothole list, pothole and berm repair is $4,400 plus the cost of $80 a ton for the hot mix.
And we don't have, no,
And we don't know what the physical tonnage would be for the hot mix.
And what about the other company?
But at, 100 tons, you're looking at $8,000, so they're still cheaper than Grazi.
Okay,
So what
But I
I
don't
would,
think you're gonna use 100 tons to repair and make the berms.
I would rebid it with the separately like that, and I would just get it in the
I did
paper.
rebid it separate. You opened separate.
The pothole's separate from the
but
paper.
I think maybe we should let the town do the potholes, with the exception of Sharon and Highview, since
Yeah.
we're gonna pave that, and then bid out the roads at the end of the month, all of the roads. What were the roads, Washington? The part that you said, right?
Yeah, 570 feet of Washington.
Right,
Oh, well, the spec we gave everybody was an inch and a half. That's the spec we gave.
right, but the town gave us,
They probably only do 2 and 1/4.
right, that's probably what they do.
So I would ask these guys how much would be to do 2 and 1/4.
I was gonna say, we don't have to spend the time and effort to rebid it. We just make a phone call and say, because they already figured it all out, is to go to the private company and just ask them, if you did 2 inches, 2 and 1/4,
If they're the low bidder.
just
No, they
what
wouldn't
would
go
it
over.
cost us? We're not disclosing
Oh, they
what the other
wouldn't.
bid would be.
No, I would rebid it.
You're talking 22 plus 13 is 35 plus another 1,800,
Yeah.
But could we?
36,800.
Could we make a motion to have the town of Brookhaven come do the potholes, because we still have to clean the drains, we still have to sweep the streets, and at least that'll be done,
They
because
gave us-
otherwise
This is
it's gonna.
going on.
Did they give
Right.
us separate bids? on the
They took us
potholes?
4 months just to get the town of Brookhaven in
So
here to
just
do that.
whoever was the low bid on the potholes, you can accept
I
that.
think that we should accept the town's bid for the potholes and rebid the major roads can be done in the summer, but at least then we can do the drains and we can do the street
All right.
sweeping. Okay. Yes, everyone agrees?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get it done.
Do we have any other bids tonight, or no?
No.
Okay. Okay, public hearing, I call to order local law, village chapter 57, open burning. We kept this open from last month. Does anybody want to make any additional comments before we close this public hearing tonight?
That wasn't announced that this was gonna be open.
It was announced at last meeting that we were keeping it open for this meeting in case anyone else wanted to make additional comments.
There was no announcement of this on the village website.
It was at the last meeting, we made the announcement at the last meeting that we would keep the public hearing open for this month, that anybody wanted to make any additional comments. Would you like to make any comments?
Yes, Diana Padilla, 61 Washington Street. I would like to implore the village to eliminate the public burning in the fire pit in California Park. And I would like to implore the village to regulate open burning in the village and people's houses as well, because of multiple reasons. One is the basic, the likelihood of impinging on the health and well-being of neighbors, which the one in California Park currently does. The second is because of the low air quality that we have too often. Every time the weather is warm, there are alerts from New York State about how bad our air quality is and requests of no open burning of any sort. When we had the hot weather 2 weeks ago, such alerts went out every day. These are going to continue through the summer and everywhere else. So just from a human health standard, it is inappropriate. And the third reason is that someone made a comment that, well, we should have public burning in parks because not everybody has property that's big enough that they could have a private fire pit in their backyard that's far enough for everything. If that were the case, then we would have a public garage for everyone who doesn't have a yard, who has to park their garage. We would have everything else. That
We have
is
community gardens
a
for that reason.
bizarre argument.
Okay, well, we have that community gardens for that reason.
Do we have garage for everybody?
Oh, come on. I'm sorry.
Gary,
Can I just direct the question
does this
This-
have to do with
to
open
Mrs.
burning?
Padilla? Yeah,
No,
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 you
no,
can't.
no.
This is
You can make a comment to the board for this.
I just wanted to know what her area of expertise is.
No,
My
well,
area-
you can take that discussion up
Would you
with
like
John
to know
after
my
your
area
meeting,
of
okay?
expertise?
Any other comments
I'm
on
happy to
burning
address my
open?
area of expertise if you'd like.
No, we don't. It's
Afterward, I guess, privately.
I'm just gonna stand so I can see everybody. What I did was I kind of went over the comments from the last time. And I kind of organized them into a couple of different ways that we could proceed to more or less resolve this issue. Let me just remind everybody. The existing law needs to be changed. It talks about burning rubbish. It talks about things that we clearly don't want. And the question is, well, what do we want? So I actually have 9 different combinations of things based upon the various comments that came up last meeting. So let me throw them out to you, and then maybe we'll have some more comments based upon this. Number 1 might be a law that simply outlaws fires. Now, the issue would be people in the village who have fireplaces, who heat their homes and the like with wood. Let me finish. Another option would be to amend the existing law to exclude rubbish, but stipulate that, quote, campfires. If you recall, we said that bonfires really, it's a misnomer. That's a large controlled fire. We're talking about a recreational fire of some kind. That would be, if you look in the dictionary, a campfire. So, let me say that one again. Amend existing laws to exclude rubbish, which we have to do, but then stipulate that campfires would be allowed but must be contained and covered. That would be your fire pit or chimney, chimnea. A third one, stipulate that fires are allowed as above, but make some kind of reference to being cognizant of neighbors and smoke conditions, which is to say that that would allow somebody to complain, that would allow code enforcement to intervene. We had people say, I like fires, but as soon as I realized that I was creating a smoke condition, I immediately put it out. That was a comment, so that would be another option. Another one would be, allow residential, but disallow public parks. That was something that came up because people do have their own fire pits at home, but there is sentiment against having it down in the beach, especially near some of the houses. Another one, allow residential, but allow at only Walnut, since that seems to have been going on all along. There were no complaints. I think that would be hard to put into a code. Allow public and residential, but for any fire, to require a permit first. That would allow somebody to come down here, get a permit, and allow some kind of notification to neighbors or what have you. Bear in mind that this is just various combinations and permutations of what we talked about. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a good way to go because of the very practical matter of implementing it and enforcing it, so keep that in mind. Allow some public, I said that one, some public and residential but require a permit for, no, this is different. Some public and residential but require a permit for public only. So that if we did allow and had fire pits down at the beach, people could do it, but they would have to have a permit, and then therefore we would have the notifications. Disallow all campfires, but allow contained recreational fires under a chimney of prescribed height. We have people who have outdoor fire assemblies, we have chimneas, we have various ways that are sold that contain the fire and in some way direct the smoke upwards. Okay? Clearly that's not going to be solving the situation in every wind condition, which was another concern that people brought up. Okay? So, I don't know if you're keeping track of this. I could make copies and pass it around. We don't want to have this continue meeting after meeting after meeting. But as you can see, we had the comments, I certainly listened to the comments, but there's no clear path. We don't seem to be in agreement because we have people who say, I like having an occasional fire once a summer down at the beach. That's what Poquott was all about. We have people who like to have family over and they have a backyard barbecue or what have you, and they like to have a fire going. It's part of summertime. We've had people say that they would like to be able to have a fire, but in fact I just became aware of this talking to somebody while walking the dog. They are locked into a neighbor-to-neighbor thing because the neighbor thinks they make noise, and then the neighbor goes and lights a fire to have the smoke go into their house. This is Poquott. So, I mean, the easy way would be to outlaw fires altogether. I think it would be only a half measure because of the number of fireplaces we have and people heating their homes. So if there is a sentiment is to avoid all of that and just allow indoor fireplaces, we could do that. That's all I have to say, and open back up the floor. Anybody who wants to respond?
Hi, Brett Bolsey, Chestnut Avenue. With all due respect, this is about open burning, and the fact that you repeatedly raise the issue of fireplaces, there would be under a completely different law. There, fireplaces and wood stoves have all sorts of mechanisms to regulate the smoke. So they don't they could, in some instances, if they're burning poorly, but they do not create the same kind of smoke and disturbance that an outdoor fire pit does. So that's been pointed out before, so I don't know why that argument keeps coming into the open burning.
I'm aware
law.
of outdoor fireplace assemblies in the village.
Yes, but there's always jabs about people who heat their homes with wood and
Well, because I'm
fireplaces.
talking about fire and smoke conditions in general, and then to say that it's a kind of a continuum, it's not just this type or that type. If we said no outdoor burning, only people who burn indoors with a chimney, then for somebody who has an outdoor fireplace assembly, a full chimney, but it's outdoors for outdoor entertainment, is that going to be outlawed? And how would you justify that in a law? Because you're allowing people to do it, only it happens to be inside their house. So it's not as easy as you are making it out to be. We could say, and this is probably ultimately a viable option, do nothing. We've done that over the years. Nobody could agree on a given course of action to rectify a situation, and quietly it disappeared. And we do have neighbor disputes over this. We do have concerns over the fire pit down at the beach. So there are very specific issues that have come up. But if we're going to change the law, and we do have to change the law, then we have to come up with something that would work for the majority of people. So I know I'm kind of leaning towards something in the middle where I don't know if I want to get into permitting. I think that's onerous for somebody who just wants to have a backyard barbecue. But that would be one way to do it, something in the middle. So again, I put it out to the group because ultimately we're going to kick it around and we'll come up with something.
Correct me, Joe, if I'm wrong. This law is being interpreted the wrong way. This is an open burning law that was done in 1931 when people burned their garbage on their front lawn and in the streets. This open law that they're talking about now this has to do with it not being contained. People have fire pits, people have barbecues, people have fireplaces that have a firebox. You go to Suffolk County Park and you can build a fire, they have a pit there. Okay, so what we're talking about and what the law says is two different things. We're changing the law to bring it up to what it is now, but this law was really meant for garbage in 1931.
Yeah,
Right?
Right, until recent times you get.
If you have a
get on your
box,
leaves. You get on your leaves and
Yeah,
things like that
that's what-
in Brookhaven.
We have to change the law no matter
That
what.
really,
If you go to town of Brookhaven and it's in a firebox, you can have a fire.
Yeah.
So this doesn't apply. We're getting into that and we're gonna put that in the code, but we're talking about this code is one thing and everyone's bringing up a different subject with the
Are
code.
we able to supersede Brookhaven or the
No.
state?
No.
So if they say you can do it.
But they do have a lot of conditions, and
They
what
do,
we're
and
trying
we'll
to do,
have
that's
our
the
own.
whole idea of having local codes, and I've said this to
This
the group
code
many
from
times.
2014 was taken from Brookhaven.
We are allowed to make it, to individualize it to this specific village. And our village has a background in being a beach community, and people lit fires during the summertime, and they enjoyed it, and you talk to, a room full of people, and half of those people have had a fire somewhere, during their years in Poquott. So to just say blanket, we're not gonna allow that anymore, I think is overly restrictive for who Poquott is. I don't believe that the amount of additional smoke that we're putting into the air is significant compared to, it's not something that's always going on, for sure. We could restrict it in a way that limited the number. Just by putting restrictions on, people just say, I'm not gonna bother. But still allow it if people want to have it.
Oh, should I come?
Yeah, I'm just gonna pretty much summarize what Dee was saying. There's two different issues. And again, bringing in the indoor fireplace with the outdoor burning, it's just separated. The issues that we have, in the summer, there's no issues because people aren't burning their fireplaces. But in the winter, when you have semi-inversions and everybody's burning their inefficient wood-burning stoves and throwing wood on their fireplace, that's when we get choked out.
Yep.
Literally, you can smell the smoke through the walls and in our house. But during the summertime, but the point being, separated, open burning And if you want to bring fireplaces and efficient stoves on another odd even days or something like
Well,
that.
it's good that you brought that up, Bill, because my feeling is that yes, in the winter time, because people say, well, the winter time is not a problem because everybody has their windows closed. But in the winter time, you're right, there's a thicker smoke condition because people damp it down.
Right.
You don't have a, and in the summertime, when you have an occasional fire, it's fast, people aren't down there for a long period of time, and I think, and that was one of the issues that we talked about with the with the Washington Street fire pit, is to take a look at the fuel. That's one of the problems, is you know, if
Treated
you have
woods
a-
down there, yeah.
if you have dry wood, small, almost kindle, it burns and that's it. And if people want to keep putting on small things on it, it doesn't really matter. It's a roaring fire, which is what you want. But you don't want a smoke condition, and that's what bothers the neighbors. So, okay, I think we can work with separating it. How this is going to all play out, as you can see, nobody else is raising their hand. There's no clear path here.
Well,
So-
listen, you're real quick, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but if you want to bring the code enforcement in on these open fires, if you're burning a fire correctly, you won't have a lot of smoke. If you don't know what you're doing and you're throwing wet wood on there, you're going to create a smoke condition. I think a neighbor has the right to call in and say, hey, these people are burning, it's just, and the code enforcement can come and see whether there's a true disturbance or not.
You do that now, though, don't you, Frank? If someone calls you?
Sure.
No?
Yeah,
Okay.
doesn't-
What are code enforcement hours then? What are code
We don't
enforcement
announce,
hours?
we don't announce the hours.
They change during the, whatever time of season, what season is.
For a
They-
purpose.
Mhm.
It's not, you know,
We've called after code enforcement hours because an open fire pit is conducive to people hanging out after 10 o'clock at night on occasion.
Well,
Just FYI.
you and Dan have made it clear that, you know, part of the issue is the people hanging out down there. We understand that.
Well, there are noise
So-
ordinances too. Are we gonna revise the noise
Right.
code next?
Right, but what we're really talking about is a law that can allow us to have some regulation without being overly restrictive to people who are good about it and who want to still be able to have it. So what we'll do is we'll try to put together something that seems like it does those things, and we'll put it out there, and I'm sure we'll tweak it as we go. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. Do you have a motion to close the public hearing for village code fix?
So I'm,
Okay, new local law, village code, adopting 2015 International Building and Fire Prevention. The purpose of the intent of this local law is to adopt international codes of the application for enforcement of the village of Poquott. Would anyone like to comment on that?
Carol Chestnut, I just want to know, where was this one advertised that this hearing was happening tonight?
Jeff?
It was in Three Village Herald.
I saw it this week, I got it.
Today for tonight?
No,
But
last week.
It's in today's one.
Then today's also, it's in 2 weeks.
I didn't see it last week, that's okay, I just missed it.
Any comments? Okay. I don't have any comments, so motion to close the hearing? Okay, call the business meeting to order at 7:30. Pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements, the village election will be on June 20th from 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. And Friday, June 23rd, the Poquott Community Association is having a year-end party at 6 o'clock, outdoor movie. I think Deidre put it on Facebook. Reports, public safety?
Public safety for the last 30 days, incident reports, we documented 12 reports. There were 7 parking violations addressed, 2 animal or pet violations that were addressed, 2 quality of life violations. There were 9 house checks. We handled 11 special parking requests. 7 building inspections were completed, and 1 stormwater violation was determined valid.
Did we get anything from Arter?
No.
Joe, you have anything?
Just, excuse me, just the local law, but we took care of that.
Okay.
If there was any questions, I would explain what's happening there. Thank you.
John Lane's report for harbor management?
Okay, John Lane's report, there are no significant items to report, the routine items report are: one, mooring reservations in the harbor are close to normal and more are still being made. Two, mooring dolphins, i.e. pilings, are being placed in front of the town marina and in front of Danford's Marina to accommodate vessels up to 150 foot in length. Three, no summons for ordinance violations have been issued, but numerous warnings have been issued. Four, the town has advised all mooring permit holders by a letter of the roving boats, moored barges, and shoreside facilities which will accept waste pump outs from boats in the harbor, and has urged all boaters to use them. There are no further items to report.
Public comments? Felicia?
Felicia Chilek, Washington Street. I have two issues. I want to ask the board regarding the upcoming election. Last year, the attorney and also Mr. Poquott allowed the poll watchers to sit next to the sign-in area, which is against New York State code. Poll watchers are not allowed to intimidate voters, that's a felony. So they need to sit behind this, supposed to be a designated line where they can't come up in front to intimidate the voters. They can, on occasion, come up and take a picture of who has signed in to vote, but that's all they're allowed to do. They're not allowed to sit at the voter line. And I had brought that up at the beginning when I saw that was happening, and yes, I was one of those poll watchers, but I did bring it up to Mr. Garfinkel and to Mr. Poquott, and they allowed it to transpire, and it really was against the law, and they did not adhere to what I had stated. So I'm asking, prior to the election, that the voters are not intimidated, and the poll watchers will sit behind the sign-in area, as dictated by New York State election law.
Okay, thank you.
And then I had another thing, and possibly Frank could bring it up to you. You keep talking about the Poquott Community Association, and I just wanted to state that I did a search on New York State corporations, and there is no such thing as the Poquott Community Association.
You can take that up with them. They provided all the paperwork that
Well,
was necessary to the village.
Okay, but let me just say this to you. There are two corporations. One is the Poquott Community Events, which is a for-profit corporation, and there's a Poquott Community Events 2, which is a not-for-profit organization. But if you keep referring and using village money for the Poquott Community Association, they don't exist.
Again, they provided the proper paperwork. You didn't, okay?
This
So when
has
they
nothing-
provide the
This
paperwork.
has nothing to do with me.
Okay, I'm just letting you know, if you have an issue, you should take it up with them.
But
They
you're
provided-
allocating
they invited-
taxpayer money to the Poquott Community Association, which, in your own words,